okay, we assess, parents do cry it out. They report that their babies don't wake. We come back and say, look at this, it works, right?
Yeah,
And if you approach research with the idea that an outcome is a definite link to whatever you're assessing, then okay, right? Like I get sick, I die. Okay, there's a causal link that makes sense. You can follow it. But I sleep train and I don't wake my parents. It's a wide cloud of gray that you've entered there.
Yeah.
And okay, did you really not wake? Did you not wake your parents? That's the first question. Yeah. Why didn't you wake your parents? And would you, if you're crying, are you tired?
Welcome to Spoil Your Baby podcast. Today, I am here with one of my favorite humans in the world, Tracy Cassels. Welcome, Tracy.
Thank you. You are one of my favorite humans too. So it's always so lovely to be here. As we said at the beginning, I'm like, I could sit here and talk to you all day. So I know we don't have all day,
but a day
we could.
Where we do that. And we live like a few hours away. We should make it happen in real life one day too.
We should. Absolutely. Yes. Okay. That's next plan. We'll get together and like maybe do a little chat for part of it, like live just together somewhere. It'll be good.
I love that. Okay. That would be glorious.
We have a plan.
I love it. We've mentioned it before, but let's make it really happen.
COVID this time, so I think it's a little easier.
That's right. It was COVID for a while. Lest we forget. We're still recovering, I think, in a lot of ways. So I feel like the best way to start our conversation is, I think, like how I found you, because I want everyone to know about you and your work and your publications and your podcast and all the things we'll talk about. But I remember so well, I was sitting at my lab in New York at Columbia, like just furiously like, how do I get neuroscience out into the world? And everybody knew was sleep training their babies or talking about sleep training. And I was like, surely this is not going to help the developing brain, if not like be a risk. And obviously found you. Like, I was like, okay, I'm not crazy. Yay. Like, because back then it was
really good parents, right? You're like, oh my God, I haven't lost my mind.
Yes. And it was only you at that point, really.
Yeah. For a while, it really was. It
really
feels
was.
Like a long time ago, but it was really, and that was really how it started, right? I had the same thing as you. I'm sitting there, I'm pregnant, doing my PhD in developmental psychology, and looking at all the advice, being like, this, what's happening? And hearing it, and friends are sleep training. And I mean, my mom never did, right? So this was like a whole foreign land to me. And, I would just came from such a different background, and it didn't resonate. And yet I was seeing it from like even academics out there pushing, as we know, all of the sleep training. And it still is. And it didn't resonate. So like you, that was kind of the impetus of like, okay, we've got to actually talk about this, because this is not making sense. And this does not resonate with everything I read in the literature. The research I'm doing, none of it seems to align to what we're hearing.
Yeah. And so much of it, this was like 10 years ago, I think, when this all started.
More than 10 years ago. My daughter's 15 now.
Okay, and 15 years ago for you. Wow.
Like, evolutionary parenting was pretty much born with her. Like, it was something I went through, like, thinking of, pregnant with her, talking to my husband all the time. And then it was after she was born that, I mean, I think I've told you before, right? Like, I just kept ranting to my poor husband. He was like my soundboard, and he was the one that pushed. He's like, half jokingly, like, you really have to just get this out, in part because I think he just couldn't hear it anymore. It was, he's like, yes, I've heard it so many times. I know what you're saying. I agree with you. Can we please just talk to someone else now? That's kind of where we went.
Yeah.
So 15 years.
Amazing. 15 years ago. Incredible. And you through your website, which is, it's there for everybody to still access. I send tons of people there. We'll put the link
Yeah, we'll talk
down?
about it. It's actually, we had just a little crash the other day, so we're trying to figure out, some plugin crashed a bunch. So most of it's there, not all of it's there, but we're slowly figuring out how to get it all back. So
It will
yay,
be there.
technology.
Yeah, I mean, it's always
It is
happening,
there.
right?
It is there.
It does
Most of
not.
it's there, like 90% is there, but a little bit is still missing.
Okay, good. And you really went through almost every topic in fit brain development in detail, referenced, and, you know, a really, really, really epic resource for parents, right? And I think it's great because sometimes I'll get messages from people just like, can you give me something for like my husband to read or my mother-in-law to read or like someone? It's like, they're not going to read a book because, you know, I could be like, okay, here's 10 books you could read, but this is like your blogs are really topic focused and like, you know, succinct, right? For people to just get a good take, right?
Yeah. And that was always the point. Like, I do feel, and it's funny you say that about emails, because that was a lot of calls that I took for a long time, was less about supporting, like, there was a lot of supporting families, don't get me wrong. Like, I love that and do that and wonderful. But some of it, there was a good chunk of calls I took that were, hey, I'm going to come on with my husband, with my mother, with my mother-in-law, with my even good friends who were kind of haranguing some people. And I need you to talk to them because they're just right into, no, this is evidence. And they'll be like, this is, I see it from researchers, everything. So tell me why you think it's wrong. And they come in ready. And it was a really successful a lot of the time because when you really dig into the research and you're honest about it, and that's something I think we can talk about in a bit, because I think even both sides get a little dishonest about what we know and what we don't know. But when people hear honestly what's out there without a lot of the bias, and I can present it that way, a lot of people are like, okay, now I get it better. Now I see the little nuances, the stuff that's missing, the everything. And it would lead to better communication amongst people. And whatever they decided, a lot of those cases, I don't know where they went. But I felt at the end that those I do know of that followed up, because some of them would start to work instead with someone like me to help and not do sleep training. So I know it was successful that way in a lot of cases, just to be able to educate people on just the reality of what we know, what we don't know, and how it impacts our children and our relationships with them.
Yeah. And I love the point about being honest about what we know and what we don't, because I say this all the time. We have not, mothers and babies have not been supported by a good amount of research. It's like pathetic. We do have a ton of developmental psychology, developmental neuroscience, you know, all of those fields, but like clinical study, like specific studies of interventions and things like this, very, very thin in the research.
And it's very thin in research, and the research that is there is really hard to sometimes interpret. And that's what's always difficult, is I can hear, you know, I won't name names, but certain people that are very well known and written books about evidence-based practices where I might agree on some things, like some medical takes and everything, but disagree on some of the more social science takes. And I think some of the issue that comes up, and I always go to this because it was actually my stats professor that did it. So I worked with Ralph. Ralph was my favorite, but because I almost actually, when I went into developmental psych, I actually almost went into statistics instead. So I did a minor in that instead.
You're brilliant, because statistics are the bane of most people's existence.
And I love it. I love it. So I know I
always needed help with
numbers.
my
Numbers
statistics.
speak to me better than other things. So it works
it's your
well.
special
but
talent.
He said, it was really interesting because he was talking he was talking about economists, to be fair. But he said that one of the problems that economists, others have with social science research is they're very used to outcomes being clear.
Right.
It's health, it's finances, it's, you know, they look at global health outcomes, and at a large scale population, you really do get to have some pretty clear-cut defined outcomes that you can link to stuff. Social science isn't really that way, right? So like I even think about are sleep training studies. Okay, we assess, parents do cry it out. They report that their babies don't wake. We come back and say, look at this, it works, right?
Yeah.
And if you approach research with the idea that an outcome is a definite link to whatever you're assessing, then okay, right? Like I get sick, I die. Okay, there's a causal link that makes sense. You can follow it. But I sleep train and I don't wake my parents. It's a wide cloud of gray that you've entered there.
Yeah.
And okay, did you really not wake? Did you not wake your parents? That's the first question. Yeah. Why didn't you wake your parents? And would you, if you're crying, are you tired? Do you run out? Like what's happening with your energy stores? All this stuff that comes into play that the outcome that we've measured is not telling us any of the underlying pieces. So we're assuming a causality that we have no basis for assuming.
Yes.
And similarly, when we talk about, I hear a lot of anti-sleep training people, which of course I agree with in principle, but taking research to be like, we know it damages the brain. We know it does this. And we're like, we don't have that research because of what you said. Mothers and babies are so understudied. Like we just haven't gotten, especially to that emotional and mental connection. Yes, we understand a bit of attachment, but even look at how little we really understand about attachment. Like it's
still like the strange situation is like the only measure, which is bizarre.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah. We really don't have, or we're looking at parental report of attachment. Yeah. And we're getting the parent side of things, but we're not getting the child side of things. So there's so much that we don't actually really understand. And so I always argue, like the way I approach how I think about things like sleep training or any kind of parenting research as it comes in is my family is like a history of lawyers until like my grandfather. So I take the legal side of things. And I always argue that I feel like it's a circumstantial case. And I think it's an incredibly strong circumstantial case against sleep training. I think when we look at what we know and how it could piece together, there is a case for sure. The problem is there's no smoking gun. There's no clear-cut link. Like if you were in a court of law, it wouldn't pass. But in my brain, I don't need to be in a court of law. I'm a mother. I'm a researcher. I'm not thinking that way, but I think it's helpful for people to view it that way. Like, because circumstance, like there can be a circumstantial case that we all go, we know you're guilty. Even without that, we know it. We just don't have that super clear-cut evidence.
Yeah, it's so important because we have to trust people to make their decision based on the real information that we have. Yeah. And the other thing is if we put on trial the experience of a mother during sleep training, that might also be a pretty open and shut case.
Yeah, I would totally agree. I know there are probably some people that can do it quite fine, but I haven't met them yet. I haven't met a parent who doesn't find sleep training incredibly emotionally difficult.
Yes. And if
they
say they did find it's okay, as someone who's works with parents a lot, they're not underneath it all because it's something that they're actually obsessed about and will perseverate over for years and years and maybe their whole life. And that's a sign that it's not actually okay.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what people get is in so many cases, when I see people adamantly pushing it, it's because they need the validation themselves.
Yes.
And that's the thing. When we get too far out, I'm quite happy. I know so many people I know sleep trained, like close friends, family, everything. And always people seem surprised. They're like, but don't they? And I'm like, no, not everyone listens. Yeah. Like, which is good. Not everyone should listen to me. I have one perspective. I want people to look around and become comfortable. But as you say, the ones that really get me are most of them that have done it. They're still talking about it years later and trying to convince you that this was the best thing. And it doesn't matter if I'm like, you were happy with your decision. You're good. There you go. That's yours. You don't need my permission to do anything. Like no one needs my permission. Except me. Like, that's pretty much it, right? And without when they're looking for that validation from others and trying to push it, it's that psychologically there's a disconnect. And so they desperately try to make it work. They're desperately trying to justify. And that is, and not everyone's like that. There are people that sleep train that aren't like that, like absolutely. But when you see someone really, really into like almost needing to convince other people to do it, you have to ask yourself why. Right? Like, and what is
sometimes
the reasoning there?
I'm like, it sounds like you're having a lot of feelings about this. What's going on? Like, what's happening inside of you right now? What's going on?
Yeah. If I'm working with someone who's done it, I can. If it's someone I don't know very well, I tend not to dive in that
I had
deep.
a neighbor when my son was they pretty much born the exact same time as my son, and just unsolicited would get reams of texts about it and trying to convince me, I don't even think they knew what my deal was, professionally or anything at that point either.
Oh my God.
And I was just like, I did sit down with her and talk about it. And actually,
she was harassing
scarily,
you.
Her son left alone from sleep training, wrapped his monitor cord around he's okay. She found him with his cord wrapped around his entire body, and he had not signaled. Horrific.
And these are the things that, like, you hear the stories, and I guess this is the biggest issue, though, and this is where I always come back to, and where I do get the issue, is that we're and especially in the U.S., where I know I had a lot of families, but even outside the U.S., Western culture, we are not supportive of women in families. Like,
no. I see it so much clearer now than ever, too. It's like...
Exactly. And it's like going backwards. Like, let's just be honest here. Where we were, I think, 5, 6, 10 years ago, I'm going to go back, is better than where we are now, I think. But that's almost a topic for another day. But I think the issue for me is, I get that women are put in, and it's often women, it's not always. I've worked with families where it's primarily the father who's taking care, or, a gay couple where there's going to be one of them. Like, this is all, but I say women out of the general population are not getting the support they need. So therefore they're expected to do everything during the day, the work, the kids. They're almost always, not always, but majority of women are the primary nighttime caregivers.
Yes.
And not always, but that is a burden. So I understand the push for sleep training to try and help moms, that it's like, because I know you probably get it too. People will come out and accuse you of not caring about mothers because you're not pro sleep training, which is absolutely antithetical to it. Because I don't think sleep training
completely
supports
against
mothers.
The research too. It actually, sleep training can harm mothers too, quite significantly.
Exactly. Like, this isn't the answer. It's just that it's the only answer that our society seems to have come up with.
It's the one thing. Right? That it's a lot of people are under that impression. This is the way, the only way.
Exactly. And there is no other way. So if I don't do it this way, all I'm going to do is suffer.
Yes.
And you're like,
it's suffer or sleep train. Yes.
There isn't. Exactly. And there's so much more out there, as you know, as I know, as there are a lot of people out there now trying to counter some of this narrative.
Yes.
But it's hard, because the forces against it is like all of society. It's your work that's like, you've got to still be productive and work, hey, minimum 40 hours a week. You're lucky if that's what you get. And you're taking care of your kids, and you're doing it on no sleep, and all of it. I'm so sorry. I have a cat at the door I'm listening to scratch at the door.
That's okay. But, you can open it if you need to.
I might in a minute. I think he's very needy right now. So he follows me to the office and everything. And I'm just
my dog does that too. I have my door slightly open because she might let herself in. And you have done. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, we have 4 cats, and 2 of them hate each other. So if I leave the door open for them both, I can end up in the middle of like a half cat fight while I'm trying to work, which is like, I have finally understood. I've always used the phrase, trying to herd cats, being like, that's funny to think of. I've now tried to do it, and I have a whole new appreciation for that thing.
It's a new specialty.
It is now a go-to for an impossible situation.
I love animals.
Talk to
They're
baby. We'll
endless,
let the cat
endless
be.
entertainment and mental health support, I find. Um,
They are. It's true. Yeah.
they are. Everyone needs a pet, I think. Especially mothers who need that extra love and support and someone to cuddle you and give you some of that good energy, right?
Exactly, right? That is, oh
Yeah.
my God. And kids need them to kids do well with them because then they entertain the children too.
Yep.
So it's like a win-win
Absolutely.
situation.
They're great.
But yeah.
So also I know a lot of your research that you've done recently, you're continuing to publish papers. Um, if I'm not, I don't actually remember the exact details of your latest one, but I'm pretty sure your latest one was looking a lot at the perspective of mothers and families.
It was. It was one with Levita D'Souza, who's a researcher out at Monash University in Australia. She specializes in attachment theory. And we did a paper together really trying to break down understanding why the push to sleep training actually ignores a huge swath of the family dynamic. Both cultural. So if we take a larger view of like parenting, you have your child, and then you have the parents, and then you have their culture or their society, and then extended family, then the overarching culture and all this stuff going in. And we put sleep solely on the behavior of the parents, right? You are somehow responsible for how your child sleeps is a message we send. When in reality, it's influenced by their physical health. They can have allergies, intolerances. They might, have digestive issues for a while, feeding issues. So we ignore the baby almost entirely. We treat them like they can't have anything wrong. And I know this because so many families I worked with had worked with other people who did nothing but push sleep training, including, in the most frustrating cases, physicians who should be looking at underlying causes.
Yes. And we actually have to force them to look at them, which is mind blowing. Like a baby who's not getting enough oxygen into their brain is being told by their doctor to go sleep train.
Exactly. Like this is the
sense.
part that it's become the catch-all. Everyone's like, oh, just sleep train. Sleep problems. And sleep problems are a symptom, right? There's sleep problems inherently aren't.
Such a good point. I think that's the title of the episode, Tracy.
But it is. Like, sleep problems are a symptom.
They are.
They are not, people do not, it's a symptom of something else. As your adults, I get it. Some people have insomnia, but even insomnia can exist from a purely physical perspective, but very rarely is that the case, right?
That's usually a psychological root.
Exactly. And children, when they don't sleep, when they don't sleep the way parents want them to, because first there's always the reality of, no, don't expect your baby to sleep through the night. There are unicorn children that do, but let's just be real about what to expect. But when kids aren't even doing that, because most families I work with that I've spoken to, fine if their baby wakes 2-3 times a night. They're there, they feed, you're functioning, you're okay. What gets problematic is when I would meet with families who are like, my baby wakes 15 to 20 times a night.
Yes.
That you're not sleeping.
Happening.
And in all of those cases, I have never had one where we did not find the physical culprit. Sometimes it took longer. Sometimes parents would resist. I had one mother who just absolutely refused to believe that there was a potential melatonin issue with her child. And I was like, there was a lot of symptoms. I was like, I would get to the doctor. And she actually stopped working with me. And I got an email like 4 or 5 months later where they'd finally gone in for other testing. And guess what happened?
Wow.
Doctor did the test and he was like, he's not producing it enough or something's happening. And this was in conjunction with some other issues that came up. And he was recommending that we get him on a dose. And this was not in North America. So they actually needed a prescription for any melatonin. It's not handed out over the counter. So but the doctor was like, I want to do this. And she was like, do you think it's okay to do that? I'm like, yes, because this is exactly where we
the medical root cause that we've looked at. Yeah.
Exactly. But even when it comes out later, like we discover sometimes it's allergies. We've had sleep apnea pop up. There's been latch feeding, tongue ties, all those issues coupled up together. Like there's just so much. And it's so nice when I see families who are really stressed. Well, it's not nice to see stressed families. So let me just say, I'm getting to the end part that's nice. But
yes,
you see families that are stressed out. They're worried about everything. They really can't see how there could be something wrong because overall, we're not talking about catastrophic health issues here. We're talking about things that interrupt sleep. And as soon as they start to discover what it is, it's like, oh my God, I can things improve. They're like, some of them are like, I can't even believe I thought about sleep training because it was just out of desperation.
It would have been cruel, right? The baby's still be waking up, still having the issues. The medical route is still there, but they're not having the support. And the parents are probably in a place where they want to be supporting.
Exactly. Because parents care. Like they love their children. Every parent wants to do what's best for their kids.
100%.
And it's just hard. Like it is so hard. And we are a culture that we may have talked about this before, but I once a few years ago asked on social media, which I am now off of, thank God, but asked parents, okay, what is the most important thing for your child?
Yeah.
And was shocked that every answer was sleep. And I started to challenge it. So I started asking online. I thought I was so shocked. I started asking clients when we first started working together. It'd be one of my first questions because this is the obsession we have about sleep in our society. Yeah. And they would inevitably say sleep. And I'd be like, really? Okay. So you think sleep's more important than your love or proper feeding or warmth, comfort? And all of a sudden you just see the brain, oh my God, wait a second. Like everyone gets into this one track mind because our society is so sleep, sleep, sleep. We tell new parents, oh, you're never going to sleep again. Like it's the stories. We don't sit when someone says you're pregnant and go, oh my God, the cuddles you are going to get in the morning when you sit down and feel that child just, they lie into you in a way that other people don't because they just trust you so completely and you are their everything. You will never know, like that experience is what you should be looking forward to. That's not what we say to new parents.
No.
Oh, well,
it's almost like you're only going to be successful once the sleep is controlled or fixed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so parents have that. That's all and we tell horror stories. People like, if your baby doesn't sleep enough, they will live under a bridge and they will never be able to count to 5 and you're going to be destitute forever. That's true. Like this is all fear mongering. Yeah. And when we get parents back to thinking about what's really important for their children, sleep is important. I'm not trying to dismiss it. Sleep is important for all of us. But there's so much more that goes into it that has to be considered. And that brings us back. That was what that paper was all these other contextual things that we're looking at family culture, because not everyone even comes from a culture that believes in sleep training, but they might 100%. Live in a country where it's pushed. That creates a dichotomy that's very difficult. We have health issues that aren't being looked at. We have just general family preferences, right? Like we're a bit of a later nighttime household. We're not early, like all of those things influence how families behave together and how families sleep. And I talk about how families sleep because whether you're co-sleeping or not, sleep is a family thing, how it's all structured, set up, and you have to still consider that. You don't put a child and just think that they sleep somehow without any other context around them. So it was a real push for us to try and get more so for other researchers to start saying, can we start looking at these things? Can we change the way we think about sleep to have this much broader perspective? Yes, it's going to make everything a bit messier to talk about, a bit more complicated. But if we just focus on this narrow little area, you're not getting what we need to help families. We're not getting the answers that we need or want to help myriad families across different perspectives, right? It's not saying, it's like they're looking for the one size fits all solution, and there just isn't one, and there shouldn't be one.
It's people really hard to study humans, and this is the reason, and that's the truth.
Exactly. Yeah. And we need to. This is the work that has to come out, is to really help. Like research is supposed to help us. And I've always believed that, right? Like as a researcher, you are trying to study things that make life a little bit better for everyone, right? Like that's the goal, right? You want to do something that adds a positive
That's why everyone's
impact.
in it, right? And you want to help, you want to improve health, you want to improve happiness, you want to fix the world in your own little way.
Exactly. And the research as we have it structured right now, I don't think is doing that.
Yeah.
And I
A
think
lot of
that's
it
part
is
of the
set up to
problem.
just continue to support sleep training and ignoring everything you just said, but also
Yep.
ignoring the huge percentage where sleep training does not silence a child's cries and they end up crying every night for their entire infancy in some cases. And it's not taking into account the emotional experience of babies or mothers or fathers or the other siblings in the home.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure you mentioned in your study that, or on your podcast, I believe, that there was also a movement in the sleep research where people are trying to support mothers to suppress their feelings even further so that they can be successful in sleep training.
Okay. Yes, it was so fascinating. And that is, a lot of that research kind of came out of Michael Gradisar's lab.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting because I actually spoke with Mikhail Khan one time on the podcast, and she's a pro sleep training person.
Yeah.
And the research, because she'd done a piece where it was a really interesting study because the results weren't what she expected. Because it was talking about the difference between a supportive kind of, for mothers that were high anxiety, they had put them into two conditions, and I'm trying to remember everything now. It was a few years ago. So details, I'm giving my high level memory of the
we can
exact
listen to the
details.
podcast for all the details.
But there was kind of these conditions. Half the group was put into pure extinction sleep training. Half were put into a more mild. They're lying next to the crib for the night the first time with arms through, touching babies and slowly moving away over the period of time. And then they also assessed anxiety and had kind of half the mothers in each group were higher anxiety and half were lower anxiety, right? So they're seeing how this all goes. Well, the more supportive method was more successful all around, right, for everyone. But it had a massive effect it was way better for mothers who had greater anxiety around stuff. So it supported them with it. So the take they took from it and where this research has now gone is, so we just need to help mothers not be anxious listening to their babies cry. It was not maybe we should actually have more supportive methods.
Right.
It was now we need to be able to stop moms from feeling that anxiety of listening to them cry. Because it was not anxiety in general, so I should specify. It was the anxiety around
about the baby crying,
having a distressed baby around.
Right.
And yeah, the more people find their baby crying distressful, the more they want to comfort them. Because that's evolution. That's not a fault. Like, our babies, we should react that strongly to our babies because that is their only means of telling us something is wrong. You want a baby crying if a freaking tiger's coming and ready to eat them. You want to hear that and get there. This is how they survive. And our reaction to their cries is evolutionarily tailored so that we do respond strongly. So I get very
quickly,
nervous.
Right? Like millisecond response. Our brains are especially attuned to a cry. We, our brain immediately sends energy into our legs to go running when we hear it. We hear those phantom cries in the shower.
Oh my God. And then any baby that cries when you're out anywhere, you're like, is that mine? Is that mine?
I get adrenaline shooting down my legs anytime I see a baby fall or cry. Still.
Yes. You just feel it's like it starts in your stomach and you get propelled into motion right away.
Yes.
The idea that we are doing research to dampen that is mind-boggling to me because the entire idea of just cutting mothers out of being like, you should learn not to, I don't want to say you should learn not to care, but that feels like what they're trying to do is
suppress
your
it.
Child's distress is not your problem. You need to learn to step back. And
you're weak.
No,
you shouldn't have these feelings. It's also mind-blowing in this age of mental health awareness where most adults realize that all of the natural emotions and feelings and instincts and intuitions that they suppressed or were led to suppress as a young one are those exact wounds that they need to heal now. We are, that approach is teaching parents how to wound themselves by not listening to their natural rhythms.
Exactly. But I think I can see almost what we were saying earlier about those who push sleep training because of their need to justify it. That's how so much gets repeated. People were suppressing, even though they have to work on it now, they still, I think it's hard to put that connection of, that was bad down there that happened.
Yeah.
And even harder
it
because
has
our
to be
conscious
right,
memory.
Because it was like hazing, right? It was so bad, but I did it and it has to be worth it because I did something like that bad.
Exactly. And that's exactly how I feel like is what we're asking families to do is haze. That's a great, I hadn't even thought about that analogy, but that is almost exactly what it is. And then we perpetuate this. Well, I did it and everything's fine. So everyone has to go through this and this is what they should do.
And if you choose something different, that threatens my story, threatens my cognitive dissonance. And so I will not let it go.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? Some kids take longer, to sleep more comfortably or overnight. Some kids my daughter's never been a great sleeper. She's found all her ways of doing it now. But even as a teenager, she's not the deep sleep everything. She's just always been a lighter sleeper, but we've found our ways with guided meditations and really calming routines. And she has aromatherapy stuff going on in there. It's just, she's really found things. So she's comfortable. She's not tired. She's not stressed, but she also needs things a particular way. She doesn't like sleeping over at other people's places because she wants her room, things. And we totally support that. That is absolutely, she should find what works for her. My son, on the other hand, once he falls asleep, he's dead to the world. I don't think I don't know anything that could wake him. So, the two opposites here.
It's different, right?
They're
Everyone's
different. People are different.
Including babies.
And you got to be there. But I always think she struggled with sleep, but she was always open to talking with us about it because we were there for her through it all. Yeah. So we've been able to find the things that help her cope as she's older because she knows. And my son, to be fair, sometimes he struggles to fall asleep, but he knows he's younger by quite a bit, but he still comes, gets me, and I go into bed with him and we snuggle until he falls asleep. And some point in the middle of the night, I wake up because I always fall asleep too, because I can't lie down next to any young child who's falling asleep and not fall asleep with them. Doesn't matter the time, I'm done. That's it. So, but I get up and then I move, middle of the night. That's fine. And it's once in a while, but and I know those are going to end, but I love those moments. And that's why when everyone thinks, oh God, that's a pain, I'm like, oh my God, I got it one more time. And I don't know when the last time is going to be, right? It's one of those things that I always caution people to think about. I haven't slept with haven't snuggled my daughter in bed years. And so I know at some point with my son, it'll be the last time, and I'm not going to begrudge that I have to do something that I know I'll be sad about when it ends.
100%. There's all those videos now of people posting when I'm 80, this is what I'm going to think about. And it's them snuggling their baby to sleep or their child to sleep. Right. And this is such a great place, I think, for us to end. I think the approach that we, supporting our baby's sleep, our children's sleep until they tell us, I don't need you anymore. Because that's how it works in my house too. It's not just taking sleep from it being a problem to being okay. It's actually being able to turn sleep into one of the most beautiful, sweet, precious experiences that you will hold with you for the rest of your life. It's not just making it terrible to find. It's making it something that I don't think anybody on earth should be missing out on because it is just indescribably incredible.
Yes, it is. And the way they feel about sleep, my son said to me the other day, and I was just so happy as he got into bed and I was giving him he's like, okay, good. Now it's my favorite time, sleep time. I was just like, oh, with all the resistance that kids have about sleep as they get older, he's just like, he hops into bed and he feels safe. He feels that he knows if anything happens, he'll come get me. If for any reason he has a nightmare, he can't, like, there's no fear of that or fear of being alone after that. And therefore, he finds sleep to be amazing. And I love that because
that's what we want. I mean, it's the basis of all health as we grow.
Yeah. And that's like, again, but it's still not the everything, right? I want him to love it, but even more, I want him to, I think the crucial part to me is you can only love it because it's important if you feel supported through it out, right?
Yes.
Throughout all of it. If you are looking at sleep as a place of, okay, I'm alone for the next 10 hours.
Yeah, let me muscle through it. Yeah.
Like, and all the time, like, I'm going to stop myself. I'm ready to go back on another rant about, you see it all on social media, people's kids who threw up in the bed and just didn't signal. Like, there's something so fundamentally wrong with that. We should have our kids know that they can come to us, know that they feel safe in their bed, in their room. They don't stay there because they have to. Yes. They stay there because they want to. And when they don't want to or don't feel safe there, they're perfectly comfortable coming to us. Yes. That is healthy sleep.
100%. A healthy relationship and healthy sleep and relationships happen when the sun is up and down. It's not conditional.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. And, the other thing to remember, just last little bit for families is a lot of times we're so busy during the day and getting out, that connection at nighttime should never be dismissed. Sometimes that may be, if you're working all day, I always say to families who co-sleep a lot later, often that's the reason. I had friends and clients I've worked with where they work all day. The idea of only spending a few hours when they get home from work with their babies or even their young children, like toddlers, they're like, no. But if I sleep with them, I get that whole contact, and you can be asleep, but that contact is still, you're transmitting so much. You're still
100%
just having this experience even while you're sleeping.
I love that. I love it. And I feel that in my own experience and see it all the time too. Amazing, Tracy. Well, we'll have to have you back when your next paper comes out.
Oh my, well, actually we have a book coming out.
Oh,
not a full, but it's an academic one.
Yes. I know about that.
Jenny,
That's exciting.
Who I've also written with, is the editor on it, and it is all on sleep, but it's, we've got Darsha Narvez and Levita as well, and myself and Jenny and some others all wrote chapters on a variety of issues, all related to sleep. I'm not sure exactly when it's coming out. It goes in like 15 days.
Is it called something like, Can We Finally End Sleep Training? Is that the title?
You know what? To be honest, it might be. I'm really bad at names, though. So, please don't. Yeah. But it is like come on. And my chapter's the last one, which is all about the things families can do in place of sleep training that might help. But I don't know. It's still out for a bit. But when it does, we are back on and we will chat about all the things
you're
that families
back.
We'll
get all the contributors on as well, I hope. That would be fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, you should. It would be great.
And we'll post.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll post your link to your website, your podcast, and when the book comes out, we'll let everyone know. And anyone who is in this realm or curious about supporting your baby's sleep and forming that close relationship and all kinds of things like daycare and Tracy goes deep on everything. So very good. Yes, very, very good resource for families, especially if you need to send your husband or mother-in-law or aunt or whoever is meddling in your business some great resource. Awesome, Tracy. Thanks so much. We'll talk soon.
Oh, thank you, Greer.